Good evening, everyone. I'd like to call the August 22nd meeting of the Planning Policy Commission to order. It currently is 6:33 p.m. Tonight's meeting is a hybrid meeting. The Planning Policy Commission is in person as well as online, but we also may have staff or members of the public attending virtually or in person. I'm going to stop real quickly because I'm quite fearful. Do we have more resignations, Stephen?
Chair voice, no, we don't.
So these are excused absences.
Correct.
Wow. A little bit of gallows humor here because if you've been watching the last two meetings, we've had, unfortunately, two of our great members move on. But no, they're just excused absences you see up here. So Nina is with us online, as well as the two commissioners to my right. So do we have a quorum?
Chair voice, yes, you have a quorum tonight.
Okay, good deal. We'll begin with the approval of minutes, and we want to look at the August 8th minutes for approval first. They're only minutes. Any questions or concerns? Take Nina as a no. Those meeting minutes are approved. So our next item of business is public comment. We'll hold this at this time. These are an important part of the public process. We take them seriously. We factor them into our decision making. And right now we are looking for general public comments for the Planning Policy Commission. Please note that we ask that the comments are limited to 5 minutes or less. Has anyone signed up this evening for general public comments?
No, Chair, they have not.
Okay. Correct. All right, hearing none, we will move on to our regular business this evening. And tonight we are holding a public hearing regarding the proposed 2024 Comprehensive Plan Periodic Amendments. We'll open the public hearing, which will be followed by a presentation from staff, and then the PPC will be given an opportunity to ask follow-up questions. Then we will take public testimony, and finally, the PPC will deliberate, and if appropriate, will make a recommendation to the City Council. Stephen Padua, our long-range planning manager, who will be presenting this evening. So Stephen, when you're ready, please go ahead.
Thank you, Chair voice. Good evening, everyone. Stephen Padua, long range planning manager. It's good to see everyone who's here tonight. So tonight, as Chair voice said, we're here to hold the public hearing and deliberate on making a recommendation to City Council on the proposed 2024 Comprehensive Plan Periodic Amendments. Much of my presentation is going to be kind of reiteration of what you've already seen before, but I'm going through it for the public hearing. So the comprehensive plan is a required component of the Growth Management Act. And so within the Growth Management Act, it requires certain topics be covered within the comprehensive plan, which guides state requirements, countywide requirements, as well as our local requirements. Within the comprehensive plan, it functions as part of a planning process with multiple planning documents at the city in conjunction with how we want to see the city grow in different areas. And so this works with many of our functional plans in implementing the city's vision in those different topic areas. It works in coordinating financing implementation, aligned with those implementation plans, as well as use of the performance metrics on how we're doing on meeting many of those goals. The elements that are in the comprehensive plan tonight, many that you've already discussed in multiple meetings before, it includes the land use sustainability element, the housing element, human services, parks, economic development, economic vitality, environment and climate, stewardship, arts and culture, transportation and utilities, public services, and capital facilities. And at many previous meetings, you've reviewed many of the goals and policies that are in the draft elements for each of these topic areas. You'll note that the arts and culture, human services, environment, climate stewardship elements are not required, although the environment and climate stewardship element will be required of the city after 2029. So one of the major themes with this periodic update was focus on compliance with many of the new state legislation that came around with House Bill 1220, House Bill 1110, House Bill 1337, a lot of housing bills, as well as House Bill 1181 that focused on climate change. There was also changes in the King County planning policies that looked at how the city was going to be meeting much of the compliance with the new state legislation and what local policies need to be enacted in place. And a lot of that is aligned with Vision 2050, which is the regional planning document that is in alignment with state regulations as well as the countywide regulations. Another major theme with this periodic update was coordination between many of the functional plans the city has adopted or was in process of adopting. The last time the city went through a periodic update, we didn't have many of these functional plans in place. And so with this update, we focused on making sure that these were fully incorporated into the comprehensive plan or considered in the comprehensive plan, and that there was coordination across the board, making sure we're using consistent language and then looking for any inconsistencies in policies and goals in different elements. And the last piece with this periodic update was focused on design. So the way this draft comprehensive plan is designed is actually to go into a new online platform that's will be integrated with our municipal code on the code publishing platform. This would help with full integration with city documents, as well as create new search functions that we didn't have before, and allows for easy searchability of what's in our comprehensive plan and how it connects with our municipal code. The other component with design of the comprehensive plan is metrics. And so the guiding principles were incorporated into the comprehensive plan to identify how it ties in with the strategic plan and those metrics with how we're meeting our goals and policies. So a summary of a lot of the changes that we've discussed in previous meetings includes many of the state requirements from new state legislation, diversity, equity, inclusion, incorporated in many of the goals and policies and multiple elements, integration of the functional plans and coordination and implementation, the identification of neighborhoods being updated as part of the comprehensive plan, the creation of the new environment stewardship element, which was really a split off from the original land use element. So from the development of the Issaquah Climate Action Plan, we incorporated many of the policies from the currently existing land use element into this new element that focused on more of the natural environment and climate change. And so what remained in the land use element was more of the goals and policies focused on the built environment. And then the last piece is redesignation and rezone, which Senior Planner Kristen Leeson will be talking to tonight. So much of the process for this periodic update is outlined in Exhibit D, which lists all the meetings that we've had with Planning Policy Commission, as well as all the other boards, commissions, and city council committees, in discussion with all the specific updates that we propose to have in each of the elements. So now I hand it off to Kristen.
So good evening. Yes, Kristen Leeson, Senior Planner. There's actually one of you I haven't met before, so nice to see you. Yeah, I'm going to talk about the redesignation and rezoning. Like, what? Redesignation, rezone? Yeah, we haven't talked about this one before. So recently, the city did an inventory of all of its surplus property. One of these surplus properties was 1775 12th Avenue Northwest, which some of you may know as the former City Hall Northwest building that we used. It's now vacant. And so on April 6th, council looked at this surplus property and said, yes, we want to sell it. But we have an issue. It is currently zoned community facilities, and community facilities zones represent public ownership. So you cannot sell to a private developer if it needs to be publicly owned. So the city asked the city to rezone this property, and in doing so, it needs to be what is the most, it needs to be a contiguous property. Everything around it, except for one small parcel, is urban core. So the process used to be that rezones came to the Planning Policy Commission for recommendation to City Council. But to make it more subjective, it now goes and not put you all in a weird position, it now goes to the hearing examiner. So on and one other thing, so it goes to the hearing examiner. So if a comprehensive plan amendment is not required, which in this case it is, because the community facilities zone falls under the community facilities umbrella of land use designation, land use designation. The urban core they wanted it to be rezoned, falls under the mixed use land use designation. So you can't have a zone that doesn't match the corresponding designation. So therefore, in this case, it also needs a land use amendment. So you do the public hearing with the hearing examiner who makes a recommendation to the City Council. Then the public hearing at the Planning Policy Commission has to do with the land use designation. So that's what we'll talk about tonight. The City Council then takes action on the redesignation first, and then they would take an action on a rezone. So that's what we're doing here tonight. So we're talking about this parcel, right? Not getting it there, right there. And you can see it's 1.28 acres, currently owned by the city, zoned community facilities, and the proposed or now recommended rezone is the urban core zone. So this actually went to our hearing examiner on June 6th of this year. Hearing examiner recommended approval of the rezone. So with that, we would then recommend changing the community facilities land use designation to the matching mixed use land use designation. And so that's what is in your comp plan, and that is what would change on the land use map if you all are to recommend approval. Okay. Back to Steve.
Thank you, Kristen. So for next steps for this process following tonight's meeting, we will be taking the draft comprehensive plan to the Planning, Development, and Environment Council Committee, who will review it in their meetings in September and October, and then we'll bring it to the Committee of the Whole, and then to full council in December. So in your materials tonight, you have the public comments matrix, you have the matrices of changes, letter from the Environmental Board on recommended changes, list of meetings, and then the redesignation rezone that Kristen spoke to, as well as draft elements and the appendices for the draft comprehensive plan. So an example motion for you all to consider tonight is a move to recommend approval of the proposed periodic amendments to the comprehensive plan as presented. That concludes my presentation.
Thank you, Stephen. Thank you, Kristen. All right, now is the time for members' questions. The one thing I'd like to point out is a lot of this stuff we've seen, I believe, is our third time around with it. So a lot of this should be pretty familiar. With the exception of the Environmental Board, you have seen most of it. As Stephen was mentioning, the Environmental Board has proposed a lot of different tweaks, changes to different policies, as you might have seen or read. And I want to thank the Environmental Board for doing such thorough work. Stephen and I had a discussion. Our thinking is, like I said, some of this was pretty technical. We asked that staff would look at it. You can see staff's responses in much of it. But I do want to point out now is the time to ask. If you do have questions about the Environmental Board, whether it's their policies or the responses from staff, now is a good time to ask about it. We will debate it as part of the fuller packet, but please also feel free to ask about anything you had questions on that. That's really the only thing we haven't seen other than everything in its totality, but just wanted to make real clear that, again, that's definitely open for discussion. And again, thank you for the Environmental Board for all their hard work. All right, questions? There are. real quickly, briefly, ask our commissioners individually if they do have any questions. I'll start with Commissioner Milligan. Do I see a Simpson hand there? Nope. Okay. Commissioner Zakharoff, any questions? Commissioner Patterson? All right. No questions. Being there's no questions, we are going to open the public comment at 6:49 p.m. And Stephen, I believe I know the answer to this, but has anyone signed up to speak?
Chair voice, no one signed up to speak, but you can ask in the room.
All right, well, I believe there is someone who would like to speak. So we just do ask that, we ask that you speak clearly, pause frequently, please state your name before speaking. If we do have someone that joins online, we do ask that if you're having any technical issues to try and join the meeting using a different device such as a smartphone or tablet. You can also use the call-in information into the meeting to call in. We do ask that you keep your comments to 5 minutes or less. And with that, if anyone in the room would like to speak, please.
Hi, my name's Connie Marsh. I live on Squawk. You should have gotten my grinding 4-day, went through just about every word in the comprehensive plan, including the language that it hasn't not really been reviewed, like the vision statements and all of this that you haven't done much with. And this is, oh, I don't know, I've been doing this since the 90s. And so this is not my first comprehensive plan. So this is a strikingly differently toned and leveled comprehensive plan. In the past, and what I consider to be the correct form of a comprehensive plan is the community and what the community wants, how they live their daily lives, and then how those lives spool out into their hopes and dreams of the future of the town in 20 years. Because the comprehensive plan is how you guide the community's city. It is not how the government is going to run its town. And that is missing from this comprehensive plan. In the past, we had visions and value statements, and they went out to the community and said, okay, community, what are you thinking? Look 20 years and tell us what you think the proper path for Issaquah is. What do you see and want for 20 years from now? And tell us your hopes and dreams. And in this situation, instead, we went to the guiding principles at the strategic plan level and created a plan for the city to use, bereft of the community's hopes and dreams. And that follows through in the language, especially the vision language per chapters. When you look at what Issaquah has done in the last 10 years, it's like brilliant. We have increased the diversity in this town tremendously. We have created so many different and varied housing units that you can't even believe it, far above what other communities have been able to achieve on the east side. And our language makes it sound like we have made no progress whatsoever. So what I say is we celebrate where we have gotten to, and then we point the trajectory into the future of what our town can be. And we show how much better the lives of the community members will be. And we can talk about the arts, because the arts are the soul, right? Are the poetry of our lives. It's the emotions that we feel. And then we have the cornerstone of the environment that everybody values so much. And then you have the swearing on the streets because you can't get around, or gravel is being kicked up on you because you're trying to walk and it's next to a 35-mile-an-hour street that is totally unpleasant. And that isn't necessarily the town that the community wants, but the community hasn't been asked on that level. This comprehensive plan is one whole step down further than it needs to be to get us the future that the community wants. So what I ask in all of my grinding language that you got in huge detail, that you consider your hopes and dreams and what you think Issaquah should be deep down in our souls, because a town is really the soul of its peoples, all of them. And you say, is this telling us that story? I do not think it is. Then backing off a little bit to just normal stuff, I don't believe it's ever correct to take public comment at a public hearing and make a decision the same night. I think it always should be continued so you can think and ponder a little bit further before you make a decision to pass such a thing on, especially with the environmental board comments, because I totally disagree with Stephen's responses to the environmental board's comments. I felt that they were disregarded, and they put their hearts and souls into the environmental section of this town, and they should be respected in that, not disregarded. Thank you very much. It wasn't as good as the Obamas, what can I say? But I'm trying.
Is there anyone else who would like to speak? Anyone online?
There's no one online.
We will close the public comment at 6:55 p.m. I do want to thank participation from our public just moments ago. And now, in order to continue, we do, regardless of what the commission decides, we still do need formal action to begin the process, kick it off, as they say. So is there a motion to begin deliberation? I see Commissioner Milligan.
Hi, thank you. First, a clarifying question. You've been saying that public comment is open and then public comment is closed. Did you mean the public hearing?
I blame my writers.
Okay, so public hearing is now closed?
Yes.
Thank you. Okay, my comment is, and I thank the commenter, I did come with two reasons to postpone deliberations and actions. The first reason to postpone is that we are missing three of our senior commissioners who have been very important in reviewing the comprehensive plan over these last several months. And we did have a lot of new information today, especially from the environmental board, that we haven't had a chance to hear their voices on. And the second is, I thought it was a policy, and I was certainly just going to advocate for the intention of it, that we would not have actions at the same night as a public hearing. Now, that certainly may be true for, and I hope it darn is, for City Council, but it could and should be for this commission. So I am going to make a motion, if I may, Chair. May I make a motion?
Of course.
Okay, I move to postpone deliberation and action section of this proceeding to our next Public Policy Commission meeting. Planning Policy Commission meeting. I am so sorry. I came running in here from, I'm on vacation, but I'm here. So that's my motion. And then I'm happy to follow up with more comment if somebody would wish to second it.
Is there a second? Commissioner Patterson.
I will second that motion.
All right. So we have a motion to move our deliberations towards our next public meeting. Let's go ahead and take a vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right, that's the majority. So we will move those to our next public meeting. Move our deliberations to the next public meeting. Okay.
Chair Boyce, for the action that will be moved to the next meeting, you could still start your deliberations tonight, if you choose to.
Well, I guess since I'll ask the motion maker, did you want to move the deliberations, wait till the senior members come back? Do you want to wait for the formal action since it was your motion?
Yeah, I was imagining that we would all do it together because there is the deliberative quality happens when we're all in the room together. But I feel less. I do not need to die on that hill. Just wanted to move the general deliberation. So if anybody wanted to start deliberating today, I would not mind.
Okay.
But that was my intention, was to move it all.
Okay. I'll ask the commissioners, since the two of you also voted with Nina. You guys like to move the deliberations? I don't think we need to make this formal. It's just more of a. Okay. Jesse? Commissioner Dabbs?
Yeah. I'm conflicted because I do agree with your observation that it seems, I guess, that making this decision with just the four of us would be, I guess, missing a big piece of the puzzle. So yeah, I am a little conflicted. That being said, I also don't want to like fully stop any progress on this. So I'm a little conflicted right now, to be completely honest. That's where my head is currently at. I know it's not helpful, but just my struggle right now.
All right, well, we have Commissioner Milligan and Commissioner Zakharoff in favor for moving the deliberations. And this, your guys' motion, so I guess in this sense, since we have 50% that would like to move them, we think staff, I think we probably should just move it.
Chair Boyce, yeah, we can move that at.
Yeah, I think we basically got 2.5. So, yeah, we'll just move the entire deliberation. And I think hopefully we can make room. Our next meeting has to do with housing analysis. What else do we have?
So one of the updates for tonight is that the calendar is going to be changing. We're going to be holding a public hearing on the draft EIS at the September 12th meeting. And so there is actually room on the agenda to continue the deliberation discussions at that meeting.
Okay. All right. Okay. Well, thank you, Commissioner Milligan. Thank you, commissioners. I believe, having said that, we will wait till our next meeting on September 12th to have our deliberations and recommendation or action for the periodic amendments for the comp plan, as well as apparently something else. But having said that, we will close out that portion of tonight's agenda, and we will move on now to regular business, which really is just reports.
Thank you, Chair Boyce. So for tonight, there's no council report. It's been a fairly quiet month. But for the next item, other business announcements, there are updates to the Planning Policy Commission calendar that we'll be sending out. It'll just shift around when the topics are being discussed that we'll be looking at this fall and winter. And so we'll send that out for the commissioners to review. There's also going to be a middle housing survey that's going to be coming out in the next week or two. So I'll let you know when that is available as well.
There's our city council updates. Any other business announcements from staff, from our... All right. Well, thank you all for coming. I know it was rather short this evening. I do know some people are now going to fight upstream, fight the Kirkland crawl. Again, we appreciate it, and we will adjourn this meeting at 7:03 p.m. Thank you.